Hello, my dear friend. My name is Anna, and this is VUS Learning English Podcast. I am so happy you are here with me today. This podcast is a warm and safe place. It is a place for you to learn English slowly and with a happy heart. Today, we are going to talk about something beautiful. We are going to talk about your wonderful brain. And we will learn how to build a genius brain. Maybe you hear the word genius and you feel it is not for you, but I want to show you that a genius brain is something you can build. It is not magic. It is a habit. It is a system. And today I will give you 5 simple steps. Thank you so much for choosing to be here. You are doing something wonderful for yourself. If you enjoy our time together, please tap the like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more learners like you. And please think about subscribing so you do not miss our future episodes. I have a small question for you. Where are you listening from today? Are you in India or Pakistan or Ethiopia or somewhere else in this beautiful world? Please tell me in the comments. I love to read where our friends are listening from. Okay, are you ready, my friend? Let's begin. Let's talk about the word genius. What if being a genius is not what you think? What if it is not a prize you win when you are born? Many of us believe this idea. We believe that some people are born smart and other people are not. This idea is not helpful. In fact, it can be a destructive myth. It can hurt our dream. It lets us feel that we cannot change. It gives us an excuse. An excuse is a reason we give for not trying. We might say, "Oh, I am just not a math person." Or we might say, "I could never learn to code." Have you ever said something like this? It is okay if you have. Many of us have felt this way. But science gives us a different story. And history gives us a different story too. These stories are full of hope. Think about your brain. Your brain is like a muscle. What happens when you exercise a muscle? It gets stronger. Your brain is the same. It gets stronger with the right kind of exercise. The lives of great people in history show us the way. They give us a workout plan for our brain. They show us the small things they did every day. These daily practices helped them build amazing minds. Today we will look at one of these amazing people. Her name is Marie Curie. She is a perfect person to learn from. Marie Curie's life was not easy. She was not born into a world that helped her. The world did not want her to succeed. She was a woman. She lived in Poland, which was controlled by Russia at that time. Because she was a woman, she was not allowed to go to university. The doors were closed to her. Imagine that feeling. You want to learn more than anything, but someone tells you, no, you cannot. But Marie did not give up. She found a secret underground school. It was called the Flying University. It was not a real building. It moved from place to place so no one would find it. She went there just to learn. Later, she went to Paris. She was very, very poor. She lived on only bread and tea. Sometimes she was so hungry that she fainted. Her first laboratory was not a big, shiny room. It was an old shed. A shed is a small, simple building. It was cold and leaky. The roof had holes. Rain came inside. But from these very hard beginnings, she did incredible things. She became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. She became the first person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes. And she is still the only person to win in 2 different science fields. This was not magic. This was not an accident. It was a process. It was a system. We have studied her life. We looked at her letters. We read the book her daughter wrote about her. We studied her notebooks. These notebooks were filled with her careful notes. They are still radioactive today because of her work. And we found her system. It is a blueprint. A blueprint is a plan to build something. This is a blueprint for building a genius brain. It has 5 steps. These are not just ideas. They are real habits. They are things you can do. You can start today. So get ready to listen with your heart. Maybe you can take some notes because we are going to learn the system behind one of the greatest minds in history. Section 1. Step 1. Cultivate an obsession with why. Let's begin with the first step. It is the most important step. It is the foundation. The first habit of a genius mind is to be very, very curious. It is a strong need to ask questions. It is a need to understand. It means you do not just accept what you hear. You want to know more. You want to know the reason behind it. Most people are happy to know what something is. But a genius wants to know why something is. They are filled with the need to understand why. For Marie Curie, this was not a small thing. This was the engine that powered her whole life. Her great discoveries did not start with a big plan. They started with a small, quiet question. A question that most people would ignore. Let me tell you the story. In the year 1896, another scientist found something new. His name was Henri Becquerel. He discovered that a material called uranium gave off a secret energy. These were like invisible rays of light. They could pass through solid things. This was a very interesting discovery. Other scientists started to study it. Marie Curie decided to study these uranic rays for her big university project, her PhD thesis. But she did not just want to talk about them. She wanted to measure them. She wanted to be very, very precise. Her husband Pierre had made a special tool. It could measure very small amounts of energy. She used this tool to start her work. She tested everything she could find. She wanted to see if anything else made these strange rays. Soon, she found that another material, called thorium, also made them. This was important. It showed that the energy was not just from uranium. So she gave this new property a name. She called it radioactivity. But then she found something strange. Something that did not make sense. She was testing a rock called pitchblende. Pitchblende is a rock that has uranium inside it. So think about it. The rock is a mix of uranium and other things. Pure uranium should be the most powerful part. So the whole rock should be less radioactive than pure uranium, right? But her tool showed something different. It showed the opposite. The pitchblende rock was 4 times more radioactive than the pure uranium. This was a very important moment. Most scientists would think it was a mistake. They would check their tool. They would think the rock was dirty or had a problem. Or they would just write it down as a strange result and forget about it. But Marie Curie's brain was different. She could not forget it. She had a big question in her heart. Why? Why was this rock more powerful than its most powerful part? She thought and thought. There was only one possible answer. She made a guess, a smart guess. She guessed that the pitchblende rock must have a tiny, tiny amount of something else inside it. Something new, something that no one had ever seen before. And this new thing must be very, very, very radioactive. That one question. that deep need to understand a strange result. Started a long journey. It was a journey of 4 years. She and her husband, Pierre, worked in that cold, leaky shed. They worked with tons of pitch-blende rock. It was very hard physical work. They had to grind the rock. They had to dissolve it in big pots. All of this work was to find a tiny bit of a new element. That one question, why, led to an amazing discovery. They did not discover just one new element. They discovered 2 new elements. One was polonium. The other was the famous radium. Her whole amazing life story started because she did not ignore that one strange result. She asked, why? So, how can we use this in our own lives? How can you apply this? You can build the why habit. It's like training a muscle in your brain. You train your brain to go deeper, to look behind the simple facts. Here's a simple way to practice. I call it the 3-layer why. It's very easy. When you learn something new, you ask why 3 times. Each time you go one level deeper, you dig for a deeper understanding. Let's try an example. Imagine you learn this fact. When a central bank raises interest rates, inflation tends to go down. This might sound complicated, but we can break it down. A normal student just memorizes this sentence for a test. But a person building a genius brain asks questions. First, you ask, 1. Why? Well, the answer is, because when interest rates are high, it is more expensive to borrow money. So people and companies borrow less money, and they spend less money. Okay, that is the first layer. Now we ask why again. 2. Okay, but why does spending less money make inflation go down? The answer is, inflation happens when there's too much money but not enough things to buy. When people spend less, the demand for things goes down. Demand is how much people want to buy something. If demand is low, sellers cannot raise their prices. They might even have to lower prices to sell their things. Good. This is the second layer. We are learning more. Now we ask why one more time. 3. And why do demand and supply control prices? The answer is about having enough for everyone. Imagine there's only 1 loaf of bread, but 10 people want to buy it. The seller can charge a lot of money. The price goes up. Now, imagine there are 10 loaves of bread, but only 1 person wants to buy it. The seller has to lower the price to make a sale. This simple idea, happening all over a country, sets the prices for everything. Do you see the difference? The first person has 1 fact. It is easy to forget. The second person has a mental model. A mental model is a picture in your mind of how something works. This person understands the story, the chain of causes. They can think about the problem in a new way because they did not just stop at what. They chased the why. Here's your challenge for this week. It is a simple and fun exercise. Every day, pick 1 new thing you learn. It can be anything. A word in English, a fact from the news, anything. Then, in a notebook, write it down and use the 3-layer why. Ask why 3 times. Write down the answers. This simple practice will start to change your brain. You will become an active learner, not just a passive bucket that information falls into. You will start to see interesting questions everywhere, hidden behind the simple facts, just like Marie Curie. Section 2. Step 2. Engineer insane persistence. Now for the second step. This step is about strength. Not strength in your body, but strength in your mind. Being a genius is not a sudden flash of a brilliant idea. It is not like a light that turns on. It is endurance. Endurance means you can keep going for a long time. It is the power to continue when things are hard. It is the ability to do the work every day, even when the work is boring, even when you are frustrated, even when you feel like quitting. Albert Einstein said something very wise about this. He said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." This is so important. He stayed with problems longer. Marie Curie's life is the best example of this idea. Her life was a masterclass in persistence. Persistence is the quality of continuing to do something, even when it is difficult. Let's call it insane persistence because it was so strong. Let's talk more about the shed where she worked. We need to be honest about it. It was a terrible place. It was an old room where people used to cut up dead bodies for science. It was cold. The roof leaked when it rained. It was freezing in the winter. It was too hot in the summer. The work she did was very, very hard on her body to get just a tiny piece of radium, just 1 gram. She had to work with tons of pitchblende rock. Several tons. 1 ton is 1,000 kilograms. She did it all by hand. She spent her days stirring huge pots of boiling, dangerous material. She used a heavy iron rod. She described it in her own words. She said, "I had to spend a whole day mixing a boiling mass with a heavy iron rod nearly as large as myself. I would be broken with fatigue at the day's end." Broken with fatigue means she was completely, totally tired. And she did this for 4 years, 4 years of this hard, painful work. And this was not all she did. She was also raising a child. She was teaching to earn money, and she was fighting against the unfair rules and ideas about women in science. Then something very sad happened. Her husband, Pierre, died in a tragic accident. She was left all alone, a single mother with 2 young daughters. The world thought she would stop. The world expected her to disappear. But what did she do? She did the opposite. She worked even harder. She took Pierre's job as a professor at the famous Sorbonne University. She became the first woman ever to be a professor there. And she continued her work. She successfully isolated pure radium metal, and she won a second Nobel Prize. This time, she won it all by herself. This kind of strength, this grit, feels almost superhuman. It feels like something only a hero can do. But it was not powered by something like motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Sometimes you feel motivated. Sometimes you don't. Curie did not depend on motivation. She ran on something stronger. She ran on disciplined consistency. This means she had a discipline, a routine, and she did it consistently, every day. Her life shows us that you do not need to feel like doing it. You just need to do it. So, how can we build this kind of persistence in our own lives? We don't wait for it, we engineer it. To engineer something means to build it carefully. We can build a system that makes persistence easy. A system that makes doing the work the easiest choice. I call this an inevitability machine. A machine that makes your success inevitable, almost certain. Here's the first part of the machine. You must establish an unbreakable daily minimum. What does this mean? It means you choose a very small amount of work on your most important goal, and you promise to do it every single day, no matter what. The amount should be so small, it feels easy, almost laughably easy. For example, if you want to write a book, your unbreakable daily minimum is not write for 3 hours. No, that is too big. Your minimum is write 100 words, or even write one sentence. If you are learning to code, your minimum is not study for 2 hours. It is write one small function or understand one line of code. If you're learning English, your minimum is not memorize 50 words. It is learn one new word and use it in a sentence. The goal is to make the bar so low that you cannot say no. Are you tired? You can still do your one sentence. Are you busy? You can still learn your one word. Do you not feel like it? It does not matter. You do it anyway. This is a very powerful trick for your brain. It works for 2 reasons. First, it creates momentum. Momentum is the force that keeps something moving. It is much easier to keep going after you have started. So you start with your one sentence. And often that one sentence will become 10 sentences. Your 100 words might turn into 1,000 words. But even if they do not, you still won. You did your minimum for the day. You kept your promise to yourself. Second, this trick uses the power of streaks. A streak is when you do something many days in a row. Get a calendar, a real paper calendar. Every day that you complete your unbreakable daily minimum, put a big X on that day. After you have a chain of 10 X's, then 20, then 30, something magical happens. Your brain will not want to break the chain. It becomes a game, a fun game you play against your own feeling of laziness. You will want to protect your streak. Next, you need to practice productive discomfort. This sounds a little strange. Discomfort is a feeling of being not comfortable. How can it be productive? We now know that Marie Curie's constant tiredness and sore hands were because of radiation sickness. Her work was very dangerous. We are not going to copy the danger. That is very important. But we can learn from her mental strength. We must learn to sit with the feeling of being uncomfortable, the feeling of being stuck, the feeling of being frustrated, and not immediately run away to a distraction. Think about a time you were studying. Maybe a math problem was very hard, or your code had an error you could not find. What does your brain want to do in that moment? Your brain screams, "Stop! This is hard. Let's do something easy." It says, "Check your phone, open Instagram, watch a YouTube video." That moment is a moment of truth. It is a choice. The next time you feel that urge to escape, try this. Set a timer for just 10 more minutes. Just 10. Tell yourself, I will stay with this hard feeling for just 10 more minutes. Try to see the frustration in a new way. It is not a stop sign. It is a signal. It is a signal that you are learning. You are at the edge of what you can do. And that is where you grow. The struggle is what makes the brain muscle stronger. Marie Curie did not have a smartphone. She did not have infinite distractions. We do. Our world is full of them. That is why we must be even more careful. We must be more deliberate. So do not wait to feel inspired. Do not wait for motivation. Build a system. Build a system that makes persistence the easiest choice. Build your own inevitability machine. Section 3. Step 3. Treat your brain as a science experiment. Let's move to step 3. This is a change in how you see yourself. It is a very powerful shift in your mindset. Most of us see our abilities as fixed. We think, I am good at this, or I am bad at that. We need to stop thinking this way. Instead, start seeing your abilities as part of an experiment. A genius does not just have ideas. A genius tests ideas. They treat their own learning and understanding as a guess that needs to be tested. Marie Curie was a scientist. She studied the world outside. But she was also a scientist of her own mind. She was the lead scientist in her own personal laboratory. Her idea that the pitchblende rock had a new element was not just a random thought. It was a testable guess. Scientists call this a hypothesis, and she had a special tool to test it. The tool was called an electrometer. This tool was the heart of her work. Why? Because it allowed her to measure radioactivity. It turned a mysterious quality into a hard number. With a number, she could do careful tests. Her method was simple. She would take a piece of the rock. She would measure its radioactivity with the tool. Then she would do a chemical process to separate it into parts. Then she would measure the parts. Is this part more radioactive? Is that part less radioactive? She just followed the numbers. The numbers showed her the way. This careful method led her to a big new idea, an idea that changed everything. She realized that radioactivity was not happening between atoms. It was coming from inside the atom itself. At that time, everyone believed that atoms were the smallest things, that they could not be divided. Her idea broke this old belief. It was a radical, shocking idea, but she had proof. She had experimental data. She had the numbers. We need to bring this same mindset to our own learning. We need to become scientists of ourselves. Stop saying, I am bad at this. That is a judgment. It does not help. Instead, start saying, my hypothesis is that my current study method is not working well. How can I test this? This is a scientific question. It leads to answers. Here is a framework, a simple plan you can use. I call it the personal science method. It has 3 simple parts: hypothesize, test, and analyze. Part 1, hypothesize. To hypothesize means to make a smart, testable guess. First, find a specific problem you have. Be very clear. I am bad at history is not a good hypothesis. It is too general. A better one is, my current method of just reading the history book is not helping me remember dates for a long time. This is a specific problem. Let's use an example that many of us can understand. Learning new English words. Let's say you are struggling to remember new vocabulary. You can make a few different hypotheses. Hypothesis A. Just reading a list of words will not help me remember them when I need them. Hypothesis B. Explaining the meaning of each new word out loud in simple English will help me understand it better. This is called the Feynman technique. Hypothesis C. Making flashcards with the word on one side and an example sentence on the other side will help me remember the words. These are 3 clear, testable guesses. Part 2. Test. Now it is time to do the experiment. It is very important to test only one thing at a time. This is called isolating the variable. So you can do this. Take a list of 15 new words. Divide them into 3 groups of 5 words. For group A, spend 10 minutes just reading the words and their definitions over and over. For group B, spend 10 minutes using the Feynman technique. For each word, try to explain what it means in very simple sentences, as if you are teaching a child. For group C, spend 10 minutes making and using flashcards. Write the word on the front and a sentence you create on the back. Now you need to measure the results. You can create a small quiz for yourself with all 15 words. But here is a key part. Take the quiz the next day, 24 hours later. We want to see what information really sticks in your brain. Part 3, analyze. To analyze means to look at the results and understand them. Look at your quiz scores. What was your score for Group A? What was your score for Group B and Group C? Maybe you got 1 out of 5 for Group A. Maybe you got 3 out of 5 for Group B. And maybe you got 5 out of 5 for Group C. This is not a test of how smart you are. This is data. It is objective information about a strategy. The data in this example shows that for you, for this kind of learning, using flashcards with your own sentences is the best method. And the analysis can go deeper. Ask why. Again, why did the flashcards work so well? You might realize it is because they made you retrieve the information. Retrieve means to pull information out of your memory. This is much harder for your brain than just reading something again. And that hard work is what makes the memory strong. Look what you did. You went from feeling, I'm bad at learning words, to saying, I have a system that is proven by data to help me learn words. You have become a scientist of your own learning. You are in control. Here's your challenge. This week, run your first personal science experiment. Choose one small area where you feel stuck. Maybe it's grammar or pronunciation or something for your job. Create at least 2 different hypotheses, 2 different ways to study. Design a fair test and measure what happens. This change from feeling sad about a problem to analyzing it like a scientist will change your life. It will change how you learn forever. Section 4. Step 4. Become maniacal about precision and documentation. Let's talk about step 4. This habit is about being careful. Very, very careful. In the world of great minds, having a good idea is common. Many people have good ideas, but an idea is just the beginning. Execution is what matters. Execution means doing the work to make the idea real. And great execution needs a deep love for precision. Precision means being exact and accurate. This habit is what separates a beginner from a master. It is knowing that big success is built from very small, careful details. For Marie Curie, this love for precision was very clear in her most important tool, her notebooks. Her lab notebooks were not just diaries. They were not for casual thoughts. They were like temples of precision. Between the years 1898 and 1902, she and Pierre published 32 scientific papers. That is a lot of work. And every discovery, every paper was built on a strong foundation of careful documentation. Documentation means writing things down. Her notebooks were perfectly organized. Every entry had a date. The pages were numbered. She made detailed drawings of her tools. She wrote down the exact measurements of energy. She wrote down every step of her chemical processes. She wrote down what she saw, her raw observations. This was not just to remember things. It was a way to put her thinking process on paper. By writing every detail down, she made her mind free. Her mind could then focus on the bigger questions. She did not have to use her mental energy to remember what she did last week. It was all there, written down with perfect care. This obsession with being precise is why her work is still trusted today. In the year 1902, after all that hard work, she finally separated radium chloride. And she measured the atomic weight of radium. She said it was about 226. This was a clear, exact statement, a fact that other scientists could check. There is a famous detail about her notebooks. They are still radioactive today, more than 100 years later. They are kept in special boxes, lined with lead in a library in France. If you want to see them, you have to wear protective clothing. The element that made the pages radioactive, radium-226, has a half-life of about 1,600 years. This means her notebooks will be radioactive for a very, very long time. Her notebooks are a physical symbol of her incredible dedication. So how can we copy this precision in our own learning? We are not working with radioactive material, of course, but we can be just as careful with our knowledge. We can create something I call Curie definition sheets. This is a system to help you master any important idea with total clarity. Often, we think we know something. We sort of know what a word means, or we kind of understand a concept. A genius mind cannot work with sort of. A genius mind needs clarity. A Curie definition sheet is very simple. It has 4 parts. Let's use a simple English word as an example. Let's use the word resilience. Part 1, the one-sentence definition. You must define the idea in one single clear sentence. If you cannot explain it simply, you do not really understand it. For resilience, the definition could be: resilience is the ability to become strong, healthy, or successful again after something bad happens. Part 2, the concrete example. Give a specific real-world example. An example makes the idea real. For resilience, you could write, Marie Curie showed great resilience when she continued her work and won another Nobel Prize after her husband died. Part 3, why it matters. Connect this idea to the big picture. Why is it important? For resilience, you could write, this is important because life has many challenges, and resilience helps us keep going and not give up on our dreams. Part 4, the common trap. Identify a common mistake or misunderstanding about the idea. For resilience, a common trap is: don't confuse resilience with never feeling sad or hurt. Resilient people feel pain, but they find a way to move forward. Do you see how this works? It is a simple but powerful tool. Your challenge is to start your own notebook of Curie definition sheets. Choose the most important ideas in the subject you are learning. For each key idea, create one sheet. Be careful. Be precise. This process feels hard at first. It is hard because it shows you where the gaps are in your knowledge. It shows you what you sort of know, but it helps you build a foundation of knowledge that is solid like a rock. And the act of physically writing it down helps your brain remember it better. Section 5. Step 5. Adopt the lab notebook method for reflection. We have arrived at the 5th and final step. This is the step that brings all the other steps together. It is the habit that makes sure you are always getting better, always improving. It is the process of structured reflection. What is reflection? Reflection is thinking carefully and quietly about something. Structured reflection means you do it in an organized way with questions to guide you. There is a common myth about Marie Curie. Some people think she was just a work machine, that she only cared about science. But this is not true. Her private journals, her personal diaries, show us a different side of her. They show she was a person who thought deeply about her life and feelings. She understood that our brains need different spaces for different kinds of thinking. This is a very important insight. She kept different notebooks. One notebook was for her science lab. It was for cold, hard data, facts and numbers. Another notebook was for her personal thoughts and feelings. After her husband Pierre died, she was full of sadness. She started a new diary just for her grief. Grief is the deep sadness you feel when someone you love dies. Her daughter later said that this diary helped her mother to cope with the pain. It helped her to process her feelings, and that helped her continue to be productive in her lab. This habit of thinking after an experience is what turns experience into expertise. Expertise means being very skilled or knowledgeable. She did not just finish one experiment and start the next one. She stopped. She thought about what happened. She learned every possible lesson from it. We need to build this same habit of structured reflection in our own lives. It is not enough to just do the work. We need to step back and think about how we are doing the work. This is called metacognition. That is a big word, but it has a simple meaning. Metacognition is thinking about your own thinking. Here's a simple framework for you. I call it the daily lab report. It is like a report a scientist writes at the end of an experiment. At the end of your study time each day, take just 5 minutes. Find a special notebook just for this and answer 4 simple questions. Question 1. What was today's experiment? This just means, what did I try to learn or do today? Question 2. What were the results? This means, what went well and where did I have difficulty? Example. I did well with words like think and 3. But I got stuck on words like this and that. It was hard to make the voiced sound. Question 3. What's my analysis? This is the most important question. It is your why question. Why did I get stuck? What was the real reason? Example. My analysis is that I was trying to go too fast. I did not relax my tongue. I was tense because I was afraid of making a mistake. Question 4. What's the next experiment? This is your plan for tomorrow. Based on my analysis, what is one specific small thing I will do differently next time? Example. Tomorrow, my experiment will be to practice only the voiced th sound. I will start by watching a video to see how the mouth moves. I will practice slowly in front of a mirror. I will not worry about being perfect. Do you see how powerful this is? It takes only 5 minutes. But you have changed a frustrating practice session. It is no longer a failure. It is now a successful experiment that gave you useful data. You have a clear, simple plan for tomorrow. This is how you make small progress every day. And those small steps, day after day, add up. They compound, like earning interest in a bank account. Over time, they lead to huge, amazing results. We have been on a wonderful journey together today. Let's take a moment to look back at the blueprint we have learned. First, we cultivate an obsession with why. We practice the 3-layer why technique. This helps us build deep understanding, not just fragile facts. Second, we engineer insane persistence. We use an unbreakable daily minimum to build momentum. And we practice productive discomfort to grow stronger through challenges. Third, we treat our brain as an experiment. We use the personal science method to test our learning strategies. This helps us find what really works for us. Fourth, we become maniacal about precision. We use Curie definition sheets to make sure our understanding is clear and solid. We build our knowledge on a strong foundation. And fifth, we adopt the lab notebook method for reflection. We use a daily lab report to learn from everything we do. We turn today's effort into tomorrow's wisdom. Marie Curie's life is a bright light for us. It is powerful proof. Proof that where we start does not have to be where we end. Our difficult situations do not have to decide our future. She faced poverty. She faced unfairness because she was a woman. She faced deep personal sadness. But she changed the way we see the whole universe. Her daughter wrote something beautiful about her mother. She said her mother was convinced that we must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing, at whatever cost, must be attained. That gift is not magic. It is not for only a few special people. The gift is the ability to learn. The gift is the ability to keep going. The gift is the ability to build a better mind through careful daily effort. Marie Curie showed us it is possible. And now you have the blueprint. You have the 5 steps. The tools for building your own genius brain are all around you. They are inside you. The only question is, will you start building? I believe in you. I believe you can. If this system felt good to you, if it gave you hope, I have 2 final things for you. First, please subscribe to the channel for more deep, gentle lessons about the systems of the world's greatest minds. It would be an honor to have you in our learning family. Second, I invite you to make a small promise, a public commitment. In the comments below, write the word Curie. And then tell me the hardest subject you are studying right now. Let's start the experiment together. Thank you so much for your time and your beautiful attention. It was a gift to spend this time with you. Remember to be kind to yourself on your learning journey. Keep going. You are doing a great job. See you next time, my friend.